The Saints offense took too long to get on track, and the best player in football eventually wore down the defense. Tonight, post-game reaction and analysis from the Saints' loss to the Chiefs. Plus, LSU finishes the year on a high note, both on the field and in the recruiting wars. Tulane gets ready for its bowl date this week. The Pelicans promise to play Zion more as their season tips off this week. And how Demario Davis used COVID shutdowns to do good. That's tonight on 4th Down on 4. For the Saints, the #1 seed is now a long shot, but maybe my single biggest takeaway from the loss to the Chiefs, the eyeball test will tell you the Saints did not play their best game of the season, not by a long shot, and they only lost to the best team in football by a field goal, which made it feel a lot like the 7-point loss to Green Bay. Now, if the Saints can get healthy for the playoffs, we've seen they can certainly beat anybody, although you actually have to do it. Being close doesn't count. I'm Doug Mouton. Welcome to 4th Down on 4. Andrew Doak was there and joins us with more. Hey, Andrew.
Hey, Doug. Yeah, Drew Brees was able to find his mojo a little too late against the Chiefs. He had an incredibly shaky start returning from injury, especially without Michael Thomas in the lineup, who was placed on injured reserve on Saturday. In the first half of this game, we saw Brees struggle in a way we've rarely seen. He got off to an 0-for-6 start per ESPN. It was the first time in his 20-year career he has begun a game 0-for-5 or worse, and it was a start that also included an awful interception intended for Lil Jordan Humphrey on the Saints' second drive, and things continued to spiral for a lot of this game offensively. Brees and the Saints offense 1 for 11 on 3rd down. They were also outpossessed by Kansas City, 41 minutes to just 19 for New Orleans, and they couldn't sustain drives, which ended up costing them in the end. Now, one big question becomes, is this the version of Brees that we just need to get used to the rest of the way, or maybe even the rest of his career? Here is Brees on what benchmarks health-wise he needed to meet in order to play this week.
Being able to throw the ball, good enough. And obviously that was kind of a ramp up, from, call it late last week into early this week and throughout practice. I still have a little ways to go, I'll be honest.
Still a ways to go. He laughed when he was asked also if he was 100% healthy, saying no. But the bright spot was that despite the offense playing bad, their defense showed up against Mahomes, relatively speaking. Kansas City's offense had their moments, but the Saints defense had to defend 92 plays. The team that averages the most plays per game in the NFL is the Rams. They average 72 plays per contest. So the Saints defending 20 more than the highest average is just absurd. Two of the biggest plays, too, were forced fumbles. The first near the end of the second quarter, Craig Robertson knocking it loose on a punt return from Demarcus Robinson. That would have been a touchdown, but Alex Anzalone falls on it, and then it ends up rolling out of the back of the end zone for a safety. Then also, when it was 29-15, Kansas City was leading. Trey Hendrickson comes up with a big sack fumble on Mahomes. At that point, that sparked Alvin Kamara score just 3 plays later to keep the comeback hopes alive in the end. The defense was the one who kept the Saints in it, though, for the remainder of the game.
Man, I feel like we played hard, but we just got to finish. We got to start finishing, get more takeaways. I didn't know we was out there that long, but we were just out there having fun, playing fast. We'll see them again. We were going to get back to the drawing board and just get ready for this week coming up.
Man, against a real good offense, I thought we played our hearts out. It wasn't good enough, obviously, but I'm proud of the effort.
John, what were your impressions of Patrick Mahomes going against him the first time?
There's so many things he does well. The biggest challenge is when he extends plays, and so a 2.5 or 3 second route turns into a 5 or 6 second route. That's challenging, and he does it so well to the right, to the left. He's a fantastic player.
They seemed to extend those plays a lot this afternoon. Now we turn to our WWL-TV Saints analyst Nick Underhill of NewOrleans.football with more. Huge outcome, in my opinion, of how this game was decided. You look at time of possession, Kansas City over 41 minutes possessing the ball. They just kept it away from Brees and them. And then you look at 3rd downs as well. Kansas City 9 for 18. The Saints just 1 for 11. How big of a factor did you feel like that played in the outcome of this game? And it didn't seem like the Saints could get the running game going to try to keep it away from Patrick Mahomes in Kansas City.
Everything felt hard. I don't really feel like there was a lot of flow on offense, and maybe that shouldn't be a surprise considering Brees missed 4 games. There's going to be some time to knock some rust off, and then Michael Thomas isn't out there, Deontay Harris isn't out there, they lose Traquan Smith. And it's basically like a starting quarterback playing a 4th preseason game with practice squad wide receivers who were trying to make the team. And that's how it looked for a little bit. And they did find that rhythm in some moments, but there wasn't any consistency. So it's not a surprise. And I think the fact that you can't stay on 3rd down affects the way you play the whole game. And that just kind of permeated throughout. The crazy thing is that despite those numbers, they were still in this game at the end. And I think that's the thing you take away from this, more so than trying to come up with hard facts from how the offense looked throughout.
No, and I would agree with you because, you look defensively, the Saints had to play 92 plays and still only gave up 32 points. I thought the only reason the Saints really had a chance in the end was because of how the defense played. Would you agree?
Yeah, I think the defense proved itself today that they are who we've been talking about them as. That the first half against Philadelphia last week was the aberration, and this is the norm. They're really this good of a team. I think they can beat anybody anywhere, and I think there's a sense of now, if you look at last week, they lost that game. If you look at that and say, okay, they're done, they aren't getting the number 1 seed in the playoffs, and now it becomes the process of how do they get good enough to win a Super Bowl. I think you just look at it now and say, all right, the Saints are this good on defense. The question is, does Drew Brees get healthy and look like Drew Brees at some point? Does Michael Thomas get healthy for the playoffs? And if both those things come back, yes, they'll be a good enough team to beat anybody anywhere. And I don't think they're afraid to go into Green Bay and play a game in Green Bay. Road teams have a better record than home teams this year heading into this week. So home field advantage this year without fans in the stands is kind of a myth.
No, and that's a great point. That actually leads me to my next question because I feel the same way. It all depends on if the Saints are going to be able to be healthy once they get to the postseason, how much success that they can have. But did you feel like if the Saints were 100% healthy, and we really haven't seen that so far this season, that they were a better team than the Chiefs?
I feel really weird coming out of this game, as positive as I feel, but I feel like I watched this game and I learned what I needed to learn about them. And basically my big question was, is the defense good enough? And 100% yes. So, yeah, we haven't seen him healthy, and I don't know if we will see him healthy. That's kind of the question mark. But we saw Drew Brees throw the ball down the field. That tells me that his shoulder's feeling better than it has at any point this season. That ball traveled 50 yards through the air. That's not a throw he was making before the injury. So I think he got a little bit healthier. I think there's still obviously work for him to do, and I think he's still not feeling 100%. The Mike Thomas injury is a little bit more concerning because it's lingered so long. But if those two things come back, I think they can do it. And even if just one of those comes back and Mike comes back 70%, that might even be enough.
No, I would agree. Brees looked really rusty to start 0 for 6 with an interception, but from that point, he was able to kind of find a rhythm. But I guess, how concerned are you with the rest of the receivers if Mike Thomas isn't himself when he does return?
I think you probably got to do an honest evaluation, and if you don't feel good about how everybody comes back or how things are going to go, you might have to start looking around at some of the guys that are available. I don't know if you can keep going forward with this group. Kenny Stills is out there, and he tweeted that, hand up emoji saying, come get me. He'd have to go through COVID protocol, so even if they did that, I don't know if it would be like for Friday night or anything like that, but if this is your group and there are ways to improve it, I think you have to be honest about that and figure out what you can do to just put a better cast of players around Brees.
And it's a very quick week for the Saints. They play in just 5 days again on Christmas Day against the Minnesota Vikings. Doug, it'll be the 3rd straight week they have a chance to clinch the division with a win.
All right, good stuff, Andrew. Yeah, hopefully they get it done Friday. We can stop talking about the division. All right, LSU freshmen fueled the Tigers' win over Ole Miss Saturday, and their incoming recruiting class looks terrific. Ricardo LeCompte joins us next with what was a great week for the Tigers. Plus, Tulane gets ready for a Potato Bowl clash with Nevada. Willie Fritz talks about his resilient team. And later, the Pelicans get ready to open their season this week, and Zion is ready for a significantly larger workload. That's coming up on 4th Down on 4. After a rough season, it's been a great last 9 days or so for the LSU Tigers. They got a huge upset win over Florida, a great recruiting haul, and then a season-ending win over Ole Miss to get back to 500. And now there's big-time optimism going forward. Ricardo LeCompte reports.
The season in the Southeastern Conference ends with the Magnolia Bowl.
In one of the most trying seasons to date, LSU found hope at the end of it. And it came closing out the year with wins over rivals Florida at the Swamp and Ole Miss at Death Valley.
He won't get much, and he lost the football. Jacoby Stevens has it.
You're always going to remember this. I mean, shoot, when, the ball stops rolling, my career's done. I'm 50 years old with kids. I could always point back to tell them, hey, I didn't quit. Just all the guys just stayed in and fought.
The players that stuck around finished it off the right way. The players returning next season showed they can be difference makers. And the Tigers may have found their latest playmaker at wide receiver in Kayshon Boutte. He ran all over the Rebels secondary Saturday, setting a new SEC single-game record for receiving yards with 308. He broke fellow Tiger Josh Reed's record of 293 yards against Alabama in 2001 on this 45-yard go-ahead score with 1:30 left in the game.
They can't stop this guy! Look at this! Touchdown, Tigers!
It's a great feeling. I was hurting before the play. I had twisted my ankle. I had spatted it up a little bit. I was like, it's a tough game. I can't quit now. We got to push through in order to be victorious.
He's learned our offense. He's not only a speed receiver, he runs good routes, especially the dig, and he catches all the balls thrown to him. So he's made a bunch of improvement. Still has a lot of ways to go. I think he's going to be one of the great players that we have here at LSU.
He found chemistry with quarterback Max Johnson, and the true freshman making his case to being QB1 for next season. The dual threat signal caller surprising Orgeron by displaying poise in the pocket over his first 2 career starts.
The more he played, the more he got comfortable, and the more he was able to execute the offense without turning the football over. He matured a lot tonight. He matured a lot in the Swamp. He's going to be a great quarterback for us.
Johnson and the LSU offense got those opportunities thanks to a defense that forced 6 turnovers from quarterback Matt Corral. The unit's play improving over the last 3 games, but it's still ranked near the bottom of the league this season in a number of defensive statistical categories. Bo Pelini's job security will be a topic of discussion this offseason, but he gets a pass right now, at least from his players.
His scheme works, and it's just us guys that have to come together and just continue to work at it, especially with the pandemic that we're in. This was really, towards the end of the season, was really how Coach Bo, his defense is supposed to be, and I hope people see that and continue to improve on it.
All aspects of this team should improve this offseason, and wrapping up this strange and unusual season on a high note helps in that process.
I think it showed the young guys, too, that never quit. Let's keep on working. The elation in the locker room after the Florida game, the elation on Wednesday when we had a great signing class, and the elation today was something that you can't replace.
And speaking of that 2021 signing class for LSU,
Louisiana State University.
They scored some major victories on the first day of early signing period on Wednesday. LSU currently has the 3rd-ranked recruiting class in both the 24/7 and Rivals team recruiting rankings. And the crown jewel in that 2021 class for the Tigers, the nation's #1 player in defensive tackle from Terrebonne, Mason Smith. And the 5-star prospect felt LSU was the right choice for him.
I felt like this is the decision I needed to make. They're not obviously not going to play as good as they were last year if they lost that many starters, that many impactful players, and they have a very young team. And I think in the next couple of years they'll get it together, and we'll just be rolling.
That's the hope in Baton Rouge. Ricardo LeCompte, 4th Down on 4.
All right, thanks, Ricardo. Tuesday afternoon, Willie Fritz and his Tulane Green Wave will go for their 3rd straight bowl win, and it's already been a busy month. Fritz has replaced both of his coordinators after a solid 6-5 season that actually could have been a lot better. Tulane will now play Nevada from the Mountain West Conference. The Wolfpack are 6-2 on the season, and freshman quarterback Michael Pratt is what's fueling this optimism uptown. Tulane could have easily won 9 games. They should have beaten Navy, SMU, and Tulsa, but they battled back to earn the bowl game.
The thing that I think our guys have done is we've fought through a lot of adversity. Now, I'd rather not have to do that and get where you're bowl eligible at the end of the year. That's not our goal. We needed to get that last win against Memphis. That was a big game for us to get, and we got it, and made us bowl eligible. I know this season was a little bit different, but if we hadn't have got to 6, we weren't going to take a game, so, proud of the guys, fighting through all that.
In Nevada, the famous Idaho Potato Bowl is Tuesday afternoon. It's a 2:30 kickoff on ESPN in Boise, Idaho. And Willie Fritz has a terrific incoming recruiting class coming in now. Of the 11 teams in the American Athletic Conference, 24/7 Sports ranks Tulane's class the third best in the conference. Still ahead, expect to see a lot more of Zion Williamson this season. His minutes will be going up. We'll get you ready for the Pelicans opener. That's next. Plus, how Demario Davis used COVID shutdowns to reach out to young people to help. That's ahead on 4th Down on 4. The Pelicans open the regular season Wednesday night in Toronto, and it's clear already things will be different this season, especially when it comes to Zion Williamson. It seems the training wheels are off and expectations are different. Friday night, the Pelicans wrapped up a perfect preseason. Just 2 games, but 2 wins. And for a team without a lot of playoff experience, learning to win does matter. But you'd never know from listening to Stan Van Gundy after the win over the Bucks Friday night that the Pelicans had actually won.
We were not very good tonight defensively after that. I thought the first quarter, I thought we did a lot of what we wanted to do. I thought we had a good focus on how we wanted to play. And then over the last 3 quarters, we just really weren't very good defensively.
Van Gundy added he thought his team was tired, fatigued, and needs to get in better shape because in the 2 preseason games, he played his frontline guys a lot.
Those guys are going to have to play, pretty big minutes. And when you've only got 2 exhibition games, you've got to get them minutes.
Van Gundy said he's comfortable with his first 11 in the rotation, but the big 7 will get big minutes. That's Brandon Ingram, Zion Williamson, Eric Bledsoe, Lonzo Ball, Steven Adams, Josh Hart, and J.J. Redick. Zion, for instance, averaged 27 minutes a game last season and played 6 minutes more than that in each of the preseason games.
So that was a lot about the whole thing in the 2 preseason games, was to play guys minutes that needed it and to keep pushing.
33 minutes again tonight. Do you like this many minutes? And how do you feel right now after doing it a couple of times? I mean, I'm guessing you're itching for it, right?
I like this. Let me stop. I love it. I just can't stress it enough. It's hard being told when you can only play a certain amount of time in the game you love because of something that could have been prevented. In my opinion, it sucks. So, to have coach out there playing for 33 minutes, I love it. I'm not complaining about that at all.
Zion, by the way, averaged 28 points and 10 rebounds in the preseason. If he can stay healthy, his breakout season could be starting this week. Now, last week we profiled with Demario Davis's work, what he's done to make the criminal justice system more fair and the wins he's accumulated. This week, how Davis and his Devoted Dreamers Foundation have found new ways to make a positive impact during the COVID shutdown. When COVID shut things down, Demario Davis and his Devoted Dreamers Foundation found a way to open things up with a series of online virtual seminars. How far into COVID did you realize sort of the potential of what you could do? How far into it did you sort of see this opportunity?
Very early on, because with Devoted Dreamers, we have a travel 7-on-7 team, and it's a mentorship for those young men. And our goal is to make sure that we're not just looking at the athlete and helping them, be better physically, but we want to make sure that they're better mentally, more prepared for school. I want to make sure that they're better spiritually, better human beings and better young men.
When COVID lockdowns began, Demario Davis said they had to find a different way to continue doing their mentorship.
people were forced to be inside, but it didn't mean that you were not going to be able to communicate, that you were not going to be able to share helpful things.
In June, the Devoted Dreamers held a month-long social summer program where accomplished women spoke to young women to serve as role models and inspiration. In July, Davis moved his faith-based Encounter Conference online.
That's a big reason why we have the Encounter Conference, where we get to meet the needs of the youth spiritually.
And as kids were getting ready to go back to school in August, the Devoted Dreamers held 2 back-to-school workshops, one called Showing Up Intentionally and one called Staying Focused in the Midst of Uncertainty.
We always talk about in the face of adversity, understanding that there's a silver lining in it and finding the victory in the midst of that adversity.
Davis and his foundation have found a lot of victories. They capitalized on COVID with an eye on helping kids get through it.
It's all about character building, understanding who they are is not based on how they look or where they're born or what they have, but it's all about being who you are inside and who God has called you to be.
And Demario Davis is the Saints nominee for the Walter Payton NFL Man of the Year Award, and he should be one of the favorites to win it. We're back with more 4th Down on 4 in a minute. It's a quick turnaround for the Saints, a Christmas afternoon date with the Minnesota Vikings. A win guarantees the Saints their 4th straight NFC South championship. We're way out of time. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next week on 4th Down on 4.